In this video, we're going to go over the preparation of the voluntary petition. Remember, 9 times out of 10, as the document preparer, when you're assigned a case to prepare, the matter will already have been created in Syncompass. And so you will not be creating the matter. We're going to review the Bridgeford case. So we come up to this search bar, type in the client's last name. We're going to click on the matter, not on the client or the contact. You'll see here it says bankruptcy matter. Double click on that. Depending on how quickly Syncompass is moving. Here is the matter already created. The other documents you'll need in front of you are the attorney workbook, or as it's sometimes called, the phone consult notes. So you look for one of those two. We're going to open that to have it in front of us. The other document we want to have open at the same time is the client workbook. To add some context, when I interview the client either on the phone or in person, I will create phone consult notes or an attorney workbook. Here's the phone consult notes in this case. And then when the client does his bit, he fills in the document called client workbook, and that's what that looks like. Okay, so my suggestion is the first place you look is to my notes, either in phone consultation or attorney workbook. Read it to get a feel for the case. I'm writing very important things here. For example, in this case, we're using Nebraska exemptions. Most of the time, you'll be able to get a sense for, here, he's filed a bankruptcy previously. This is how long he's lived in Arizona and other states. Whether or not we're filing Chapter 7 or Chapter 13. And here's the reason. We're filing Chapter 13 to reduce a car payment, to pay off fees, and to pay fees post-petition. And so that's a good idea to review this workbook. And so now we go to Syncompass. And we're going to go to the voluntary petition. And we're going to start with debtor 1. And the information really starts here. Herbert Charles Bridgeford III. He's only lived in Arizona for 4 weeks. He's a renter, he's not a homeowner, and all this other information. All of this is going to go into the voluntary petition. So, as a point of practice, you should proceed very slowly in preparing the voluntary petition. Many document preparers get in trouble thinking to themselves, well, the meat of the case is the assets, or the income, or the statement of financial affairs, and I'll just blow through this voluntary petition. That is not the case. Mistakes on the voluntary petition to fix are very expensive because we have to file an amended petition and notify all the creditors, and very time consuming. So my suggestion to you here is to move slowly. We put the client's name in here, address, If there's a mailing address, make sure it gets here. Put in the client's phone number. All this is coming right off that first page of the workbook. Sign as usually gets filled in automatically. Get the county correct. The division office is always Tucson. And has he been domiciled in Arizona for the preceding 180 days? And so make sure that the answer to those questions are yes. The social security number goes here. This is very important. Check and double check. If you can't read the client's handwriting, sometimes you'll come down here and you can't read his handwriting. You go to the tax return to confirm. These three questions right here: do you possess property that poses a threat to the public? Are you a sole proprietor? Have you been divorced? Those three questions are answering these inquiries. So remember, owning a firearm is not possessing property that is a threat to public. If they owned a business, you would click this radio button, and then the business tab would pop open here. You come over and press the star key, and then you can add in that he has a business. The Bridgefords don't own a business. If one of these two parties was divorced in the previous 8 years, you would know that. There'd be a decree of dissolution in the file or an answer that lets you know that. And then this community property tab would open. You'd hit the plus sign, and you would add in the person's name. I've never had anybody who possessed property that was a threat to the public. The filing fee is always going to be attached. Jurisdiction is always going to be Arizona. Even if they've lived in another state in the previous 180 days, jurisdiction is always Arizona because that's where the case is being filed. The division is always going to be Tucson. That's the only place I represent people, in Tucson. The exemptions, you're going to see that most of the time in the attorney workbook. You'll notice here that I wrote in obviously really big letters. It's astounding to me how I can write notes like these in workbooks and have document preparers not get this correct when they're preparing a document. Most of the time the exemptions will be Arizona. If it's not, there'll be a note that will be conspicuous. And so in this case, the exemptions are Nebraska. If you come across a state that's not activated, then you'll have to see me and we'll show you how to activate exemptions for other states on your computer. The debtor type is really important. In this case, we've got a married couple. Both are participating, so it's joint. If we had one party who was not married, it would be single. Sometimes, though, we have a married party, but only one party to the marriage is filing the bankruptcy petition, and that's an individual married. You'll see notes in the file called MILT. That means married individual living together, or MILS, married individual living separately. And that's when we would click this button. The case number will not be here. You will not have the case number when you're prepping the case. This automatically populates when we file the case with the bankruptcy court. The actual filing date, that will automatically populate as well. The attorney will automatically populate. So will the United States trustee, Eileen Lashinsky. Whether or not they rent or own a home, you click this box. And again, that information is on the sheet in the workbook. Debtor 2, that's the spouse. Obviously, all this information needs to be filled in, including the social security number. This is an extremely important part of your job. In every single case, let me repeat that, every single case, every single time, You're going to take the debtor's name and social security number and run it through the national database for PACER to see if they have filed a bankruptcy petition previously. There will never be an excuse that I will listen to if you've missed a prior bankruptcy petition filing and it's not listed here. We do not rely on the client's word when we ask them the question, have you ever filed a bankruptcy petition before? Surprisingly enough, people have, and they do not put yes here. So you must go and check PACER. And so you'll see all this information goes from the workbook into the voluntary petition. There's co-debtor wife telling us that she's a renter. They don't own any real estate. Here are these 3 questions. Social security number. If there's a mailing address, make sure it gets there. And make sure you're saving your work. Save often, because SynCompass is a cloud-based program, and many times it just shuts down and you'll lose your work if it hasn't been saved. That's it for now.